You know that moment when you finally reach a goal you've been chasing for years? And instead of feeling proud, you just sit there staring at the number, thinking, that's it? That's exactly what happened to this guy. This guy wasn't careless with money. He wasn't the type to waste it on things he didn't need. In fact, this guy did everything right. He skipped unnecessary expenses, avoided impulse buying, and stayed disciplined when everyone around him wasn't. While his friends upgraded their phones every year and went out almost every weekend, this guy stayed focused. He told himself that all of this sacrifice would be worth it one day. Because this guy had a goal, $10,000. To some people, that number might not seem like much, but to this guy, it meant everything. It was proof that he had control over his life, that he wasn't just surviving anymore, but actually moving forward. And slowly, month by month, he got closer. At first, saving felt painful. Every dollar he didn't spend felt like something he was missing out on. But over time, something changed. Watching his savings grow became addictive. It gave him a sense of progress, a sense of direction. $1,000 turned into $3,000, then $5,000, and every milestone made him feel like he was getting closer to becoming the person he wanted to be. This guy started imagining what life would feel like when he finally reached $10,000. He thought maybe he'd feel secure, maybe confident, maybe even ahead of everyone else. So he kept going. He worked more, spent less, and stayed consistent even when it got boring. And then one night, almost randomly, it happened. And after transferring money into his savings account, he looked at the total balance, $10,000. This guy stared at the number for a few seconds, then refreshed the app just to make sure it was real. It was. He leaned back, expecting to feel something, pride, relief, excitement, but nothing came. Just silence. And that's when this guy faced a brutal truth. Saving money doesn't automatically change your life. This guy had spent so much time believing that once he reached this number, something inside him would shift, that he would feel more secure, more confident, more in control. But deep down, he still felt exactly the same, because money alone doesn't fix the way you think. And this guy had never realized that before. He thought the number would change him, but it didn't. Instead, it exposed something he had been avoiding the entire time. Now, this guy started asking himself questions he had never asked before. What now? Is this enough? Why doesn't this feel like I thought it would? And the answers weren't comfortable. Because this guy realized that saving without a plan is just delaying decisions. He had spent years focusing on how to save money, but never stopped to think about why he was saving it in the first place. There was no bigger vision, no strategy, no direction, just a number he was chasing. And once he reached it, the illusion broke. He also realized something even more uncomfortable. $10,000 isn't a lot in today's world. It sounds big when you're starting from zero, but once you get there, reality hits. Unexpected expenses, responsibilities, inflation. Everything suddenly puts that number into perspective. This guy had imagined that $10,000 would make him feel rich, but instead it made him realize how expensive life actually is. And that realization changes you because now saving doesn't feel like the end goal anymore. That's when this guy began to see things differently. He understood that saving money alone won't make you wealthy. It only protects you from going broke, and there's a difference. So, for most of his life, this guy had been playing defense. He avoided risks, cut costs, and stayed safe. But he never learned how to play offense. He never thought about investing, growing his income, or building assets. And standing there with $10,000 in his account, he realized he had been focused on the wrong game the entire time. What made it even harder was noticing the people around him. The ones he used to think were careless with money. Some of them were actually ahead now. And not because they saved better, but because they earned more, invested earlier, and took chances. That was difficult for this guy to accept. He had done everything right, yet still felt behind. But instead of letting that realization discourage him, something shifted. This guy stopped seeing $10,000 as an achievement and started seeing it as an opportunity. For the first time, this guy had options. He had breathing room. He had a small cushion that allowed him to think beyond survival. And most importantly, he had awareness. This guy began learning about investing, even though it felt confusing at first. He started asking better questions. Instead of thinking, how can I save this money? He started asking, how can I grow it? That one shift in thinking changed everything because now, money wasn't something he held on to tightly. It became something he used strategically. At the same time, this guy started focusing on increasing his income. He realized there's a limit to how much you can cut, but there's almost no limit to how much you can earn. So he began working on his skills, looking for opportunities, and taking risks he would have avoided before. It wasn't easy and it didn't happen overnight, but slowly things began to change. This time, this guy wasn't just chasing a number, he was building a system. And that's the real difference most people miss. Financial success isn't about hitting a specific milestone like $10,000 or even $100,000. Those numbers might feel important, but they don't change your life on their own. What actually makes the difference is what you do before and after you reach them. Your habits, and then your mindset and your strategy matter far more than the number itself. And this guy had to learn that the hard way. $10,000 didn't make him successful, but it made him aware. It showed him that saving is just the beginning, not the destination. It forced him to think bigger, to act differently, and to stop playing small. Because once you see the truth, you can't ignore it anymore. Now, when this guy looks at his money, he doesn't feel that same emptiness. Because now, every dollar has a purpose, every decision has direction, and every step is part of something bigger. So if you're chasing your first $10,000 or any financial milestone, just remember this. Saving money is important, but it's not enough. Because the real game isn't about how much you can hold, it's about how well you can grow. And this guy only understood that after facing the truth no one talks about.